Hello friends, welcome to Behind the Shadows, a new way of telling stories.
The sun was beginning to rise on the horizon, painting the forest with golden hues and vibrant greens. Jack, Sarah, Mike, and Emily got out of the car, excitement pulsing through their veins. "Wow, look at this. It's more beautiful than I imagined," exclaimed Emily, her eyes shining as she took in the majestic trees standing tall like guardians of the place. "And these flowers? It feels like we're inside a fairy tale," said Sarah, crouching down to smell a wildflower. "Let's set up camp quickly. We need to have the gear ready before it gets dark," ordered Jack as he unloaded the backpacks. The atmosphere was light and filled with laughter as the group split into tasks. Mike started assembling the tent while Sarah and Emily organized the cameras and microphones. With everything set, Jack grabbed a camera and began filming. "Let's do a cool introduction. Here we are, in the famous Laughing Forest, where they say children's laughter echoes at night," he said, gesturing animatedly. "Children's laughter? That's just a legend, right?" Mike commented, laughing nervously. "What could possibly happen here? It's just a forest." Sarah, flipping through a book she found in her backpack, looked at them with a mischievous smile. "Actually, there's a pretty creepy story about this forest. They say some children disappeared here many years ago, and the laughter we hear at night is from them." Emily laughed, but her laughter was a bit nervous. "Oh, come on, do you really believe that? Those are just stories to scare tourists. Who knows? Let's find out," said Jack, continuing to film the trees and flowers around. "I think this is going to make for quite a documentary." As the sun began to set, they gathered around the campfire they had lit. The flames danced, casting shadows on the trees. "What do you hope to find here?" Sarah asked, looking at her friends' faces with a thoughtful expression. "I hope to find something incredible. A real mystery," said Mike, tossing a stick into the fire. "And what if it's not just a mystery? What if it's something more?" Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. An unsettling feeling seemed to hang in the air, but they all tried to ignore it, diving into stories and expectations for the night ahead. The laughter and sounds of the forest around them formed a tranquil symphony, but something in the atmosphere began to shift, as if an invisible shadow was about to reveal itself. The twilight started to paint the sky with shades of orange and purple when laughter of children began to echo among the trees, as if an invisible crowd was having fun nearby. The group exchanged confused glances, but soon Jack turned, laughing nervously. "It must be other campers," he said, trying to keep the mood light. "Let's see what's going on." Sarah, with a worried expression, furrowed her brow. "This doesn't seem normal. The legend talks about laughter, but it's not like we're at an amusement park." Mike, with a cynical smile, replied, "Oh, come on, Sarah. It's all part of the experience. Let's not let a spooky story ruin our fun." With a mix of curiosity and unease, the group decided to follow the voices, venturing deeper into the forest. With each step, the laughter multiplied, turning into a disturbing symphony that seemed to toy with their emotions. Emily, nervous, whispered, "This doesn't feel right. We're getting away from the campsite." "Relax, we're just exploring," Jack replied, though his voice trembled slightly. The forest grew denser, and the feeling of being watched intensified. After a few minutes, they realized they were completely disoriented. The laughter seemed to amplify, almost mocking them, as the daylight quickly faded, plunging the surroundings into an unsettling twilight. "I don't like this," Sarah said, her gaze darting from side to side. "We need to head back now." Mike, who was in the lead, hesitated. "But what if we're missing something amazing? Just a little further. Look, if we don't turn back soon, we're going to get really lost." Emily shouted, the tension in her voice undeniable. The group finally decided to return, but soon realized the paths around them seemed to shift. The trees appeared to move, and the echoes of laughter became a constant, almost hypnotic refrain. Sarah stopped, looking around in despair. "We're going in circles. Something's wrong." Jack tried to stay calm. "Let's focus. If we can remember where we came from." But before he could finish, a booming laugh echoed, sending a chill down their spines. The forest felt alive, as if it were feeding off their fear. The pressure mounted, and the laughter now resonated like a sinister invitation, drawing them into a bottomless abyss. The atmosphere in the forest grew increasingly oppressive, and the distant laughter of children seemed to echo in their ears, as if the laughter were part of the very air they breathed. Sarah's heart raced as she and Jack, now alone, tried to figure out what had happened to Mike. "Mike, where are you?" Jack shouted, his voice choked with anxiety. "He can't have gone too far," Sarah replied, fighting against the panic that threatened to settle in her chest. The echo of laughter intensified, as if the forest were laughing at them. Both began to walk, their hesitant steps breaking the eerie silence. The darkness seemed to be closing in, and the shadows of the trees stretched out, creating distorted shapes that appeared to move around them. "Let's use the recorders. Maybe we can capture something," suggested Jack, pulling one of the devices from his backpack. They turned on the recorder and tried to capture the atmosphere around them. But when they played it back, the distorted laughter sounded like a macabre song, mixed with muffled screams. This is insane. I can't make sense of any of it," Sarah exclaimed, her pale face reflecting the fear that surrounded her. "Let's split up. We can look faster that way. I'll go to the right, and you go to the left. Shout if you find anything," Jack said, determined despite the fear consuming him. "Are you sure? What if the forest doesn't let us come back?" Sarah questioned, hesitant. "We need to try. We can't just stand here." With that, they separated, each following a different path, the forest closing in around them like a cold, threatening embrace. Alone, Sarah felt that every step took her further away from the safety of the group. The laughter never ceased, and with every echo, she thought she heard Mike's name whispered among the childish sounds. After a few minutes of searching, Sarah stumbled upon a strange clearing, where the moonlight seemed to shine more brightly. There was a sense of calm there, but at the same time, a chill ran down her spine. The laughter felt closer, more insistent. "Jack?" she called, but the only response was the echoing laughter. She turned, trying to sense any presence, but the darkness felt solid. Fear enveloped her, and she felt vulnerable in a place that should be safe. "Please, Mike, show yourself," she pleaded, her voice trembling, as the laughter grew louder, almost as if it were mocking her anguish. The forest, with its dancing shadows and echoes of laughter, had become a palpable nightmare. At any moment, she felt something was about to happen, but what could it be? The air was thick with a tension that seemed to promise something terrible. The forest was darker and denser than ever. Emily looked at Mike, who stood frozen, with a vacant expression, as if he were in a trance. He slowly shook his head, murmuring incomprehensible words. The distorted laughter of children echoed around them, mingling with the encroaching darkness. "Mike, are you okay?" Emily called, her voice trembling. "Come back to us." He didn't respond. Instead, he began to laugh strangely, a laugh that sent chills down Emily's spine. "Playing is fun, playing is good," he repeated, as if trapped in an endless loop. The shadows between the trees seemed to stir, dancing in sync with his laughter. "Stop it, Mike. This isn't you," Emily shouted, desperate. She moved closer to him, trying to shake him back to reality. "Please, look at me." At that moment, the laughter grew louder, as if the forest were enjoying the scene. As she touched Mike's arm, he stepped back as if burned, his expression shifting from a trance to pure terror. "Emily. What is happening?" His eyes were wide, confusion evident. You were laughing at a song. What happened to you?" Emily asked, trying to ignore the shadows that seemed to close in around them. "I don't know. Everything was so funny. But now, it feels like someone is pulling me away." He looked toward the dark horizon, where the trees twisted as if they were alive. "We need to find the others," Emily said, determined. "Let's go." She started walking, pulling Mike to follow, but soon realized that the forest was changing around them. The once familiar trees seemed to close in, forming a labyrinth. "Emily, I don't know if we're going to get out of here," Mike exclaimed, his voice trembling. The tension was palpable, and the once innocent laughter now sounded like screams of despair echoing in their ears. "Stay close to me. We can't split up." She looked back and spotted a faint glow, as if it were a light. "Look. Let's head that way." They both ran toward the light, but the forest seemed to mock them, the echoes of laughter transforming into wails. With every step, the darkness felt like it was deepening, fear settling in their hearts. When they finally found a clearing, the group was gathered, but the tension in the air was thick. Jack and Sarah looked visibly shaken. "Where were you? What happened?" Jack asked, his voice heavy with concern. "Mike was. He was different," Emily replied, still in disbelief over what she had witnessed. The forest is alive, and it's not friendly. We need to get out of here, now. Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide. But as they looked around, they realized the path back had vanished, and the laughter had turned into agonizing screams, echoing louder and louder. The forest was closing in on them, as if ready to consume their souls. The forest felt alive around them, the trees whispering as the wind passed through their twisted branches. Jack, with the camera in hand, looked at the ancient tree in front of them, its deep, irregular markings seeming to tell stories of a dark past. "Look at this," he exclaimed, approaching the tree. "These marks. They look like hands." Sarah moved closer, her face pale. "This is strange, don't you think?" The laughter echoed louder, almost as if it was coming from inside the tree. Mike, nervously, shook his head. "We need to get away. This doesn't feel right." But Jack's curiosity outweighed his fear. "Wait. Let's investigate a bit more. Those laughs. They could be a clue." He crouched down, trying to capture the sound with the camera. "Listen." Suddenly, the laughter morphed into a distorted echo, almost as if the tree were laughing at them. "Jack, this is not a good idea," Emily shouted, pulling him by the arm. "We need to get out of here." But it was too late. The tree began emitting a deep sound, a kind of murmur that seemed to intensify with every passing second. "I feel like it's draining our energy," Sarah said, breathless. "We need to leave now." As they tried to back away, they realized the shadows around them had grown denser, as if the very forest were closing in on them. "Quick, let's go!" Mike yelled, but the tree's roots seemed to stretch out, trying to grab them. The group ran, but the laughter had now turned into a deafening cacophony, distorted and anguished. "Don't look back," Jack shouted, feeling a wave of despair. But as he did, he caught sight of a grotesque figure forming among the trees, an ancient entity with empty eyes and a smile that widened, revealing sharp teeth. The being appeared to be made of shadows, pulsating with a malevolent energy, as the laughter intensified, becoming a cacophony of pain and suffering. "This can't be real," Emily screamed, trying to pull Sarah away from the creature. "We need to find a way out." But the entity advanced, laughing sinisterly, as if feeding off the fear they radiated. "You cannot escape," it whispered, echoing in their minds. "This forest is mine." Jack felt a chill run down his spine, but he couldn't let fear take over. He remembered a song his mother used to sing to him when he was a child. The melody always comforted him, and now it seemed to be their only hope. He took a deep breath and began to sing aloud, his voice echoing in the darkness of the forest. In the enchanted forest, where laughter dances, he started hesitantly, but as the song flowed, his confidence grew. Sarah and Emily, beside him, exchanged a knowing glance. They joined in, their voices harmonizing into a chorus that resonated among the trees. "Listen to the song, let the fear drift away," they continued together, and surprisingly, the distorted laughs of the entity began to falter. The grotesque creature before them halted, its threatening form flickering like a shadow in the wind. "This won't work. It can't be calmed," Mike shouted, his voice trembling with panic. "It's getting closer." "No, Mike," Sarah retorted, determination in her eyes. "We need to believe. It feeds off our memories. That's what we want. Good memories." The entity roared, its cry echoing like a storm, but Jack and the girls' music seemed to cut through the darkness around them. They now caught glimpses of children, lost shadows dancing among the trees, as if they were trying to break free. "Come on, keep going," Jack urged, his voice rising. "Our memories are stronger than fear." He recalled every laugh, every moment of joy, and it propelled them to sing louder. With one last effort, Jack looked into the entity's eyes. "The laughter you heard was just an illusion. It wasn't yours. And we won't let you trap us here." The entity, now visibly weakened, let out an agonizing scream, as if the very shadows that sustained it were dissipating. The children's laughter began to transform into cries of liberation, and the children, now free, started to vanish into a radiant light. Finally, with one last chord of the song, the entity let out a final roar, and in an explosion of darkness, it disappeared. The group stood in silence, breathless, as the forest seemed to breathe again, as if the pressure had been lifted. "We did it," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We did it." Jack looked at his friends, a mix of relief and sorrow in his eyes. They were traumatized, but also victorious. The forest, which once seemed a place of serene beauty, now bore scars from their experiences. But they knew that together,
Leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy and see other stories on the channel. See you in the next story, if you dare.